Today we're going to be learning about the famous artist Paul Cezanne. He was born in Aix-en-Provence, so that's in France. He left to study art in Paris, where he met Impressionist artists like Basile, Renoir, Monet, and Sisley. Then he returned to Aix-en-Provence, where he painted some of his best art pieces. The viewers of Cezanne's work found it shocking. It was different from what they were used to seeing, the very realistic paintings that previous artists had done. But his work was greatly appreciated and admired. Many artists are inspired by what they see and feel in their everyday experiences. Cezanne loved the bright colors of nature, and he thought perspective was useless. Cezanne was inspired by the fresh fruit at the local open market in his hometown, and he loved to capture the beauty of his hometown. So when you look at a fruit, I want you to think about a few things. Think about its form. Form refers to the 3D quality of an object that you can look at on all sides. So this pear form has a tapered shape at the top, and then it gets wider and fuller at the bottom. It has a stem, and notice the colors. You know, it's a yellow hue, but it also has a little bit of this pinkish reddish orange in it as well, and it has some speckles, kind of greenish speckles if you look at it up close, and even a few little imperfections. So we're going to take a look at how to start on our fruit bowl today, and then the second half of this project is going to be painting it. But we're going to start with an oil pastel, a dark colored oil pastel like black or dark blue or even slate or gray would be fine, any oil pastel. And if you don't have these, you could use a crayon. It would work just as well. And so you're gonna need a white piece of paper, and then later, like I said, some water-based paints such as watercolors or tempera cakes. So think about the form of the fruit and the form of a bowl, and we're gonna work on the size relationships and a technique called overlapping. And so on your white paper, I would like for you to put about 4 fingers down on the edge. So your 4 fingers on the edge, and then just put a dot beside your finger. And we're about midway down, or a little above the middle of the paper. And then do the same thing on the other side. 4 fingers, and then put a dot just right beside your pinky. So now we have the space that we're going to use to draw our line. So we're going to connect the 2 dots with a line. And next we're going to draw a curved shape for a bowl. And you want to aim for the other dot. You could even kind of trace just with your finger at first to make sure you can get the feel for the line that you're going to create, the curve that you're going to create. Very good. So we have our basic bowl shape, and we're going to add a little bottom or a little foot to the bowl. So just do a little curved line on each side. So 2 little curved lines at the bottom on each side of the bottom of the bowl. And then take your oil pastel and connect those 2 lines with just a slight curved line as well. So now we have our basic bowl shape. Very good. And in order to draw our fruit, we're going to think about the shapes of the fruit that we would like to include, whether it's apples, oranges, pears, plums, and they're all based on a circle shape, or if you want to think in 3D terms, they're all based on an orb shape. A 3-dimensional circle would be a sphere. You could also say it that way. And just draw a partial circle so that the bottom of it is unfinished. Now you could trace something that's circular if you had a cup like this that you wanted to trace. You would put it part of the way, maybe not quite halfway down, on that line of the bowl, and then you can trace the cup and stop at the top line of your bowl. And so even if the shapes are a little bit different sizes, that's okay, because sometimes oranges are bigger than apples and vice versa. Okay, over here on this side where we have just a little bit of space, we're going to have this bigger fruit in the middle overlap that fruit. So say if this is either a plum or an apple or whatever it might be, I'm going to stop it right at the edge of my bowl. And what I've created is 3 fruit that seem to be sitting inside my bowl. We're going to do the same thing on the top. We're going to let those sit on the top of the other fruit. So you can take an object that you can trace if you would like. Excuse me. Or you can draw them freehand. And you're going to keep doing this as much as you would like. Now I want to make this one into a pear because it's a little bit loppy-jawed or a little bit crooked anyway. So I'm going to go to the top of this rounded shape and I'm going to taper it off just like that pear we looked at earlier. And I'm going to add a little stem at the top. And don't worry about that line in the middle because we're going to be painting over these anyway. So now I have about 6 fruit. You could do 7 or 8 or, you know, however many you would like to fit in your picture. Next, we're going to create a table line. So I'm going to come to the edge of my paper and come over to my bowl and stop. Notice that my bowl is below that line. So the bottom or the foot of the bowl is below the line. Then I'm going to just air trace over across my bowl so I know where I'm going to start on the other side, and then I'm going to finish my line on the other side all the way to the edge of the paper. So this is the table or the surface that my bowl is sitting on, and this would be either the wall or if it's outdoors it would be the background area. And we'll talk about what to put in the background in just a few minutes. How are we doing? Okay, so for the background, I'm just going to create some stripes. You could do any design in your background. And anytime you get to a fruit, you're going to skip over the fruit. So if I'm doing stripes, I'm going to try to get them evenly spaced. And then I'm just going to leave it like that and not try to fit another line on the edge. And I'm going to create a little pattern. So pattern is just an element of art that repeats. So in this case, I'm repeating some short diagonal lines on the sides of my vertical lines that I drew. And they kind of remind me a little bit of bird footprints or bird feet. And that just gives a little decorative design on the wall behind my fruit bowl. You could do swirls or you could do zigzags, whatever your heart desires. And remember to stop at your fruits. If there's fruit there, you're not going to put any of your pattern inside or over top of your fruit. And you'll just keep repeating your pattern. I'm going to keep it relatively simple, not too complicated. So I've created my background, my fruit in my bowl, and my table. Now it's time to start thinking about color. So what colors are the fruit that you would like to paint? Well, I'm going to give you some ideas. And here is one that's halfway finished or almost finished. And you can see that I've used some different colors in my fruit. I'm going to lift it up a little bit. And the colors that I chose were green for my pear, orange in several of the fruit, yellow, maybe for a lemon, 2 red apples, purple for a plum, and then a green fruit or a green apple as well. Let's talk about color combinations. So you can use 2 of the same color beside each other, but you want to use some colors that are in variety or in difference from the other colors to give it more interest. So if you're going to repeat 2 colors, maybe think about putting them away from each other. You could put a couple beside each other or not. And maybe put a different color in between 2 of the same color fruit as well. Maybe have one that's not the same color as any of the others. It's up to you. You're the artist. For the bowl, when we get to that later, I chose a contrasting color or a different color from all the fruit colors, and a contrasting color that's different from my wall color that I chose. And later I'm going to paint my table. So in the next video coming up, I will be showing you how to get started painting and adding highlights and shadows. Stay tuned.